youth vote and how it will impact this election cycle. We're joined by David Grasso. He's the business editor at Bold, an online media company. David, great to see you again.
Likewise, of course, as always.
David, there are about 93 million millennials
Absolutely.
who fall into this group. It's considered the biggest voting bloc in the country. What is the top issue for millennials in this election?
The top issues, and they're one and the same really, are student loans and jobs, jobs, jobs. As they've said in the past, it's the economy, stupid, always.
What specifically within the economy?
It's really about the ability to pay back our loans, and that boils down to ultimately jobs, the ability to get a good job, a well-paying job that has good health insurance.
And which presidential candidate do millennials feel could best fulfill this?
Well, you know, millennials unfortunately don't turn out in high numbers, and young people typically don't, even though we are the largest demographic and we will come to be 50% of the U.S. workforce by the year 2020. We're exerting our economic force. We're still not yet a political force. They're trending towards Democrats, of course, because Republicans have a PR problem. It's not cool to be a Republican. It's cool to be a Democrat. It's hip.
Well, many would beg to differ on that account, but you're certainly right. Rock the Vote, the millennial poll, does show that millennials tend to gravitate more towards Bernie Sanders. Those that are Republican choose Trump, but the majority are flocking to those Bernie Sanders rallies. Why? Why is he really tapping into the youth vote?
Because the Great Recession has been really hard on my generation, and unfortunately they don't have a very long memory to know that a lot growing government doesn't technically help economically empower them. What they think is that having more free things available to them and more help from the government will help them overcome the significant barriers that we've faced, including myself, I'm a proud millennial, that we've faced since the Great Recession.
Well, you mentioned free things, and that does seem to tap into this appreciation, positive love for socialism. Bernie Sanders is a self-described democratic socialist, and there was a time when the term socialist was right up there with the term communist as a very dirty word in America. And yet a lot of millennials are really embracing the term socialism, which in essence is against the very fabric of capitalist America. Why are millennials feeling so positive towards a socialist economy?
Well, if you ask my Cuban-born grandmother, she'll still tell you he's a communist. So, you know, even back in 2004, we couldn't say the word socialist. Even in 2008, this is really the first election cycle that someone is able to say the word socialist. It's pretty much because these young people don't understand what socialism is. They see someone who is speaking to them, who is trying to make a connection through them, mostly through social issues. Through economic issues, if you really go out and ask people on the street, jaywalking style, what Bernie Sanders stands for, they struggle to tell you exactly what his policy platform really is.
Well, you know, as I say, David, the problem with socialism is that eventually you run out of other people's money.
Of course.
Why are millennials really not understanding this? Why do they identify as socialists without really understanding the economic policies, especially given that millennials are supposed to be the best educated generation we've had so far, and certainly the most technologically savvy and the most exposed to information?
You know, it's really a response to that there's no other way to harness there's no other way to control crony capitalism. This is a way in their minds, and I am not included among this bunch, that says, you know what, we can't do anything about Wall Street, we can't do anything to rein in the banks, we can't do anything to change the distribution of wealth without significant government intervention. And that's where the left is getting a lot of their power.
Well, you said that there's a big concern that whilst they may be very passionate, very few may actually turn out to vote. And that seems to tie in to the perception that millennials are lazy or entitled. You put in the word millennial and L in Google, and the next word that comes up is lazy and entitled. Why is this the perception of millennials? Is this accurate? I mean, of course, we're broadly speaking and generalizing, but why does this seem to be a perception that's stuck?
Well, you know, I think there's a lot of misunderstanding about millennials. You know, we are known as the Chinese call us the strawberry generation, where we wilt easily. You know, fruits tend to be very sensitive, and people say that about us. I think a lot of that's rooted in misunderstanding. We haven't had it very easy. We've had a very difficult job market. Our college costs a lot more than it did for all generations behind us. And I think the only thing that will help appease us is really economic opportunity. And really the realization is that you cannot redistribute forever. Eventually, you are the one that they will come after to redistribute things to.
If that point is actually understood. By the way, I'm with you in the millennial camp. In terms of the impact that millennials have on the economy, very different from baby boomers, for example, in terms of views on home ownership. They prefer not to. In terms of marriage, certainly millennials are opting to stay single for longer. What impact does that have on the economy going forward?
Well, really, it's partially choice, but it's partially not by choice. We are so strapped with student loans that we're stuck in a cycle where we do have to rent. We simply don't have enough monthly income to afford a student loan and a mortgage. And a lot of my friends are stuck in that. A lot of my friends are professional people who make six figures, and a lot of them don't make six figures, but either way, they don't have enough money to buy a house, and they're stuck renting. And if you've noticed rental prices in the past 10 years, they've skyrocketed.
Right.
So they're stuck in this endless cycle where they can never afford to buy a house.
Yeah, it's certainly a tough situation. Don't know if any presidential candidate can make that any better, but let's see how the Super Tuesday results shape up and who will be our most likely candidate. David Grasso, business editor at